refugees displaced by civil war.
I don't know how to just explain it.
Both of those border camps. Andrea,
what he was talking about is not foreign to me by any stretch of the imagination. First off, he was an open book. I went and introduced myself because he's our neighbor, and he was mowing the lawn, but he's mowing it with a push mower, not a gas mower, just an old school. I don't know what you call them, a real mower. And he just started telling me everything. And I knew he was a combat veteran, but he started telling me everything. I stopped him and I said, "I just want you to know that I understand some of the lingo that you're using, and in general have a sense of some of what you're talking about because of my dad." And I could see he appreciated that, but then he just kept it. It was like medicine for him just to talk. But when he said 7 combat tours, going back to the mid-90s.
Could have been 1 month, 6 months.
Yeah, that may have been. But going back to the mid-90s, Kosovo, and then Iraq, Afghanistan, as a Marine. And at one point he just looked at me and he said, "I wasn't comfortable leaving my Marines there with someone other than me." Said, "Okay." You could just look in his eyes and just...
There was a lot of guilt for some of us when we get back.
Yeah.
She's concerned about contacts between representatives
Didn't do
from
everything we
Biogen
could
and
have or should
FDA
have.
during the review
Yeah.
process.
Could do more.
That may have occurred outside of the formal correspondence process.
One of the worst decisions that I can
This guy, this
Dr.
poor
Aaron
guy,
Kesselheim
Dad,
resigned
he
from the
just...
FDA advisory
I think
committee
he's
after the
suspended.
drug's
My
approval
biggest
last month.
problem was
If there
what I
is data that the FDA
experienced
has
with
that
other
we don't
people.
know about that might justify
Wounds
such a
and
decision
deaths.
that we should
Yeah.
know that.
Approval of Aduhelm was already controversial
even
after
imagine.
evidence of its effectiveness was
This guy
inconclusive.
just
The drug, which
looked to
cost
me like he had been in just
$56,000
too many
a year,
firefights.
was first approved for all approximately 6
And
million
you could see it in his
Americans
eyes.
who suffer from
And it was not
Alzheimer's.
aggression
This
at all.
week,
It was
that
just
revised to those in the disease's early
checked
stages,
out.
like
Just,
Phil Gunness, who participated in the drug's trials.
it just wasn't all there. Not in an intelligence way. You could just see it. You could see it in his soul. It was just trauma.
In a statement,
Very
Biden
nice guy.
said, "We will cooperate with
But,
any inquiry."
my age,
Tonight, millions
2
of
little
families
kids.
facing Alzheimer's wait for
We saw him every day.
about the drug that
They'll go out
brought so much
in the evening,
hope.
smoke a cigarette, mow the lawn,
Well,
turn
my
the
biggest
eggs.
concern after I quit having the real difficult depression problems,
The Confederate statues
so
of Generals Robert E.
it's
Lee and
16
Stonewall
years.
Jackson will both be
without
removed.
trying to keep anybody from finding out that I had had any mental health issues.
2017.
Because
A new twist in the billionaire
back then especially, not as much now I don't think.
No.
But mental health issues keep you from getting the job,
Yeah.
all kinds of shit.
So that made it worse, probably.
Yeah, and I and your mother helped me manage to get by without people finding out about it, or except for the DA and people that had to know about it. Until I finally got to the point where my medication was changed and I got better.
Can it get to a point, I'm just speaking in general, not asking about
Is it
you.
worse feeling like you're having to hide something?
Oh,
I can't
that's...
imagine. I don't think
Things are different
it's
today.
so much worse. Yeah,
Things are different now.
the piece of
That's...
yourself that you're
No.
hiding just makes everything
That
worse.
falls under the social justice movement, and that's going to be a part of it. That's a form of discrimination.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it was pretty much recognized as being legitimate. Still, I mean, how many people do you know who actually can't perform? That's the reason I stayed in school so long, because I was afraid I couldn't perform well on the job.
And it's fun.
Yeah, it was fun too, yeah.
But I would think being in a situation like active duty combat would be similar to a prisoner who's institutionalized for so long that they don't want life outside of that because it's all they know.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just keep doing it You've ever seen the movie Shawshank Redemption? Morgan Freeman's character keeps going through parole, and he doesn't want it. He's like, I don't know what it's not like to be outside of prison. It scares me. I would think you could get to a point in combat where civilian life almost scares you.
Just in the military.
Oh yeah, just being out of the military.
I was so disappointed when I was retired. I wanted to stay 30 years.
Yeah, I can understand that. You get to a point where it's like, wait a second, this is you just become conditioned, and it's just it's more comfortable to stay with what you know, and I think that's a trap that some people get into. I shouldn't call it a trap. It's just a situation people get into. And I would think combat would certainly exacerbate it to the point where it's to come, what am I going to do with myself outside of this life? This is what I do. It's all I know how to do. Especially a Marine. My God, Marines are trained to do one thing. That's follow orders and kill. Is that safe to say? I mean, that's they're elite soldiers. That's what they do. So I'm very proud to have him as a neighbor. He flies the American flag, and I invited his wife and his kids over, and I enjoyed talking to him.
I can afford to fix things at my house. I'm saving money where I can pay my own bills.
Glad I'm not a Marine though. Oh my God, Dad, I'm so thankful that Reese and I stayed away from the military.
Oh man, I wanted to.
How do you explain that 68 of those
For a while, Reese was going to be in there.
Yeah, have you ever heard what he said? He got in there and realized it. He's like, this is a shit show.
Yeah.
You got in where? What?
He was about to go to. Reese was about to go into the National Guard, and was about to go to basic training, and said, "Nope."
I didn't know that.
Sure was.
Why did you say no?
He was lucky
Yeah, talk to him about it.
Sworn in.
Yeah, talk to him about it. They threatened, to hold him to an agreement he signed. He's like, "You go ahead and do what you got to do," but he had an advocate. He had contacted an organization to get
I
out.
always discouraged Reese and Evans from going into the military because I've seen what it can do to people.
That and our government gets involved in too many damn incidents. We get involved in shit and send these young men and women into this crap that is just, well, it's crap. Look at this garbage in Afghanistan and the Middle East and Iraq.
Hops from one nasty situation to another where it has no damn business being in the first place. And it was that way with Vietnam. We were brainwashed in military science classes. Propaganda.
You're fighting communists, Pop.
Yeah, something.
You're fighting communists, man. You're fighting for freedom.
Yeah, you get the domino effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people want to be free.
They want to be, and you got over there and realized that's the last thing they want. Some did, but the country
did.
didn't.
I first noticed was that we weren't functioning in the manner of military tactics that we had been taught.
We didn't
weren't
exactly
holding territory.
Didn't exactly have a good president to make those calls.
Probably the worst one ever was Johnson.
You're preaching to the choir. Yeah. It's amazing that we've repeated the same mistakes again in recent history.
It's unreal.
Like you said, and talking with this poor neighbor of ours. And he's a great guy, and his family's beautiful, but, oh, man.
Well, I understand wanting a military career.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted it more than anything.
I'm glad you didn't do that. Of course, a military career in the 60s and 70s, you can only think of one thing. Vietnam. That's all there is.
I sure did like it when I wasn't in combat.
I always liked wrestling when I didn't have to compete in really high stakes tournaments.
Or when you weren't sick.
Or when you weren't sick. Oh, I would think you'd appreciate being sick at times over there.
Oh, I don't deny that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Nothing to be ashamed
Smart
of
enough
that.
to know that getting out of combat was the best damn thing I could do.
Yeah.
Among the suspects in the assassination of Haiti's president.
I was hospitalized for dengue. I was hospitalized for ascariasis.
What is that?
Worms.
Worms.
Hospitalized
Walking around without shoes on?
hospitalized with
Oh, man.
And in the West, another punishing heat wave. More than 30
hepatitis.
alerts. The head of the FDA calling for
I was actually hospitalized for just a few days for dysentery.
twist in the billionaire space race just hours before
That's just what they call it when they... all of the above. How was Japan?
NBC Nightly News.
Well, you were in the hospital.
I was in Okinawa. That's
Still Japan.
That's still Japan.
Yeah.
I loved it. Once I got out of the hospital and I was on convalescent leave for a couple of weeks. Loved it. And I went to Japan on my R&R.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And after that news that we told you about last night,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How was that?
to target the Delta variant, the
Everyone I know who's gone to Japan speaks very highly of it.
fully vaccinated do not need a booster.
Especially if you like Japanese food.
Anthony Fauci about all of it. We will have that in a moment.
Fish.
But we begin with late-breaking details from the
It was so different from the USA.
Yeah.
It was intriguing.
Yeah. Orderly, though.
Oh, yeah, very orderly.
Structured.
CDC, the new guidance, which several states
A lot
stopped
more
enforcing
formality.
weeks ago,
Yeah.
now mirrors the same indoor guidelines.
That's neat that you got to experience that. Maybe not the best situation under which to experience, but you got to.
The Japanese students and their parents are the most respectful,
It can
like,
be difficult
best
for
student. They're the best
schools
students.
to either
Amazing.
document the
You get when you look at your roster and you see that there's some Japanese students on there, you're like, okay, it's gonna be
Didn't you tell me one time that there were some Japanese soldiers in Vietnam that were fighting? Korean. South Korean soldiers, huh?
Yeah. I flew with two different Korean divisions before I ever flew with an American division.
Really?
And some South Vietnam.
What the hell were they doing there? Koreans.
They're allies of us.
Yeah, I know. I know.
There were Canadians there.
Yeah, wow. So it was a, what do they call it? It was a coalition.
Yeah.
A coalition. Canadians, huh?
Yeah.
And how was your experience with the ARVN? Were some good? I mean,
In Wisconsin, authorities
My
are going
ARVN
door-to-door
experiences
to
weren't good
increase
at
the
all.
vaccination rate
but you did work with them.
Oh, yeah.
The Army of the Republic of
South Vietnamese Army.
South
Army of the
Vietnam.
Republic of Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay.
is fueling outbreaks
Now,
nationwide.
that
We
was
did not expect the arrival of
more
the
of a
Delta
joke.
variant
Mm.
or the number of
Because it was their country.
cautious it
That's
was.
right.
Tonight's setbacks
Well, a
as
lot
our
of them have
nation
been
moves
drafted
forward and as children get
And
ready
get with the
to
paratrooper
face
unit or
the
ranger unit, something been all right, but I never was.
Oh, the ARVNs had been drafted.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
Oh.
They've been drafted and volunteered both. But hell, you can go into a landing zone to pick up either a wounded or a sick or something, ARVN soldier, and when you started to take off, they'd be hanging on your skids.
Oh, you mean the ones that weren't?
Huh?
The ones that weren't injured. They just wanted out.
And, you know, one of the first things they taught you was how to shake them off. You know, you drop your collective a little bit and then pull it up real hard. It's hard for
I
them to
don't
hang
want to
on.
laugh at that. I'm trying not to laugh at that. But it's,
Can you blame them?
No, no.
God. They just wanted out. They didn't want to. Oh, my God.
I know, like,
Oh.
I'm like, that's humorous and I shouldn't be laughing because it's terrible.
No, they don't. We feel that ultimately
were they more prone to do that? The ARVN? Were they the ones who were doing that? Or the Koreans or anyone? Or,
No, the Koreans
you have
were
plenty
great.
of people that did that, right? Or was it mostly that?
Great soldiers.
Yeah. Mountain soldiers.
60% of American adults to this point have now received at least one shot.
Fought a nasty, brutal civil war against the North
I don't even know the
Koreans.
names of any of the South Vietnamese units that I supported. I had no
Wow.
idea. Never found out. But the Koreans, I was with both the Tiger Division and White Horse Division.
They left an
I
impression,
got the
huh?
patches on the wall.
Oh, really?
Whatever it takes, even if we get trusted.
My great uncle.
We had an interpreter.
Community.
Speak for what? For Korean and Vietnamese, Chinese? God. Or whatever. I guess, well, probably a lot of them speak Mandarin or some form of.
Oh, they probably did.
Jeez.
Indirectly for the health of the entire community.
And what about
Just part of our discussion tonight with Anthony.
what about the enemy? I mean, if it's Viet Cong or suspected Viet Cong or whatever, did any of them ever come out with y'all?
Oh, yeah. We evacuated anybody.
Yeah.
And everybody. We didn't evacuate their dead. We were wounded.
At least 28
And we
suspects
evacuated.
were involved in the assassination of the country's president, lining them up for the world to see. Behind the
And then they
tables
went to a
displayed
prison camp.
firearms, machetes,
Yeah.
and Colombian
Depending on,
passports.
Right.
a lot of them
Haitian
had
police say 17
missing
men have
arms,
been arrested,
legs,
including
things like
15
that.
Colombians and
Yeah.
2 Haitian Americans. 3 suspects died in a gun battle, and
My
8
great
others
uncle
are
was in.
Well, then that's why they were holding on to the bottom of your helicopter. They saw what was going on. They're like, this is not for me. Get me out.
Get out of here.
I do not blame them one bit. But that was their. So I guess the impression they left was that of being cowards or yeller, but that was all set up by. I mean, they
Such a political war.
yeah, and they couldn't have been. Probably a lot of them were teenagers.
Yeah.
They all look like teenagers.
Yeah,
They
they just
little people.
they don't want to be there. Yeah. Oh, God. Well, I've had so many Vietnamese students come through my classroom, and they all have quite a dislike for communism. They all are linked back to South
all
Vietnam,
the
and
Vietnamese
they're all
people
named
out there
Nguyen.
are
Yeah, they're all named
All
Nguyen.
named Nguyen.
Every one of them's named
All of
Nguyen.
them.
Nguyen.
Every one of them.
Smart.
I've
Smart.
never had a Vietnamese student not named
Oh, they
Nguyen.
were, to me, they were even more gracious than the Japanese. The few civilians that I got to know,
Oh, yeah.
and even some of the military, they're just nice, gentle, kind
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I never understood why we messed around over there.
Well, you're familiar with the expression a clusterfuck, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
President Biden
Well, that's what it was. There's a clusterfuck. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
seizing American companies'
Yeah.
data.
I got the win that I had my first year teaching. Do you remember him?
Oh yeah.
He was I don't even know.
Oh, he was a mess.
He was a mess. And so I called his parents. I had a conference with his dad, and his dad started telling him to listen to me. And his dad would tell me the story. Like, he said he'd get up in the middle of the night, he'd come into his dad, and he'd just go to the bathroom, and he'd say, "You listen to teacher! You listen!" He didn't. But I really appreciated the parents, like, very...
But you've had Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Chinese, Viet Chinese. I've had them all. I've had all.
Wonderful. They're all
I can't say all mine have been wonderful. Many of them have been. Some of them have been too, like lazy.
Well, yeah, some of
The stereotype doesn't always fit.
well, but the families in general have been, yeah, the kids, me, but the families have been wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, your mother and I were involved with the family, Vietnamese family.
I remember that.
And
But not by much.
the government had, the U.S. government had promised to make certain provisions for,
Yeah.
for Vietnamese who
Seeking asylum.
were likely to be
Asylum.
executed
Refugee status, yes.
by the North Vietnamese.
Yeah.
And
is a home for you in the United States.
Kind of like this.
Choose.
Well,
Here we are doing it
We
again.
promised that we were going to take care of them.
Here we are doing it again. That's what Biden just said. There's a home for you in the United States.
Care of the Vietnamese who came over here after the war were churches. Most of them.
Oh, yeah?
That's all I know of it. And that's how we
That's good.
got involved.
Yeah.
Through the Lutheran Church.
He helped
And what a nice family they
sometimes
were.
defend U.S. forces on 150
I remember. Dad, I was very young, but I remember. That was before Anna was born.
So you're pointing out to the U.S. soldiers where the toll of arms.
We're doing it here again.
Tom's former
President of the United States, Joe Biden just said, hey, there's a place for you in the United States. Doing it again.
Hope he means it.
He does.
Well, those
We'll
are
do
people,
it.
Those are people who are likely to be executed.
Right. But they these are interpreters and whatnot, but they have, if they're seeking asylum,
Well, you're talking about where the Taliban is, and now that's where we removed all of our troops from, or are they from Afghanistan?
right, so there may even be special provisions for some people in Venezuela even to come here. If they're political prisoners, or I don't know, not in good standing.
The same thing applies to Venezuela that applies to most countries.
Richard Engel in Afghanistan
If
tonight. Richard, thank you. And tonight a
they
breakthrough
come
between the U.S.
to
and
get away
Russia
from the
allowing urgent aid deliveries
possibility
to
of
refugees displaced by
Not just
torture, murder,
yeah,
whatever.
right.
Andrew Mitchell recently traveled to
Oh, yeah?
border camps.
Okay.
But is your
This deal came right
last
before
time I
the
talked to
deadline.
you, your mom and your brother?
Peter, only hours
trying
before
to
the UN's aid and millions of
come
Syrian
to- I
refugees
can't
were to
remember
be
the
shut
No,
down.
no,
Russia agreed to
I
let it
applied
continue
for
for
my
12
brother's.
months, but only through one corridor from Turkey. We visited that border
He has been
last month
approved
with
for a
US UN
visa
Ambassador Linda Thomas
and
Greenfield,
he's waiting
who
for it.
negotiated the aid
My
with
mother
the
never
Russian
wanted to.
counterpart.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
when we went, President Biden
So
commended
is-
the
so
women
he's
who
just
fought
waiting
that
now?
couldn't today, but critics
I'd
say
love
it's
it.
not
Her
an
mother
easy
and brother,
conditions. Last
brother's
Saturday,
family would
Russian
come over here.
airstrikes and Syrian artillery struck more villages in
Okay.
the area. Relief workers say killing 8, including children.